We are live. All right, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, some nice chill music to start. This actually sounds like Moonlighter music. Actually,
I know. I was thinking that too. I'm gonna go check
like
to see. Okay, so they can hear us, so I'm gonna mute both of us until the stuff is done. What is up, everybody? I don't know why the music is still playing. That's super weird. Hi, what is up, everybody? My name is Sean.
And I'm Tom.
And we're the Block Bros.
We're Block Bros. Yep, that's exactly how I thought that intro would work out. Perfect.
We rehearsed that. We did so good at this. Welcome in, everybody, to the first episode of our terrible new podcast. It's called Block Bros, an indie game podcast. That pretty much says everything about it. This is gonna be bad, so please just stick with us. We're gonna make it work, though. We're gonna make this a whole
terrible start.
Career. Yeah, the whole career starting off terribly. So I guess since this is our first episode, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'll let Tom go first. Tom, go ahead and take it away. Introduce yourself. I talk too much.
All right. Well, I'm Tom. I've been playing indie games like a really, really long time. They're just a great passion of mine, something that, these smaller developers can get into, just kind of from the life point of like an artist. It's really cool to see like just small time artists make something so big and so beloved. I've been a tattoo artist for years and I just really like indie games. So that's all you really need to know about me.
Hell yeah. And he's my best friend, if anyone cares.
Yeah, we're besties.
he's like, no. I'm Sean. I am a content creator and Twitch streamer mostly. I go by the username Sean is Ginger, all one word. You can always find me on Twitch. And I play a lot of different games. I've been a Twitch streamer for 4 years now, and I've played probably hundreds of indie games over that amount of time. Honestly, for me, this podcast, the idea for it kind of came from Tom, and I ran with it. But basically, what really, really drove the point home and why I wanted to create this podcast specifically in this way was I went to a convention and I sat down at a table and I played a developer's indie game right in front of them. And this man literally was so dedicated to watching me play his game. He got up and sat next to me and explained things to me as I was playing it. Like, oh, you see this there? Well, I made that because I thought that it would help with this other thing. And that was just so interesting to me. And I just wanted to get that aspect to more people. So this is kind of the way that I want to do that, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah. Well, the first game that we're going to be talking about is a game called Moonlighter. For everyone who doesn't know what Moonlighter is a action RPG indie game. It has dungeoneering and roguelike elements. It's developed by the Spanish indie studio Digital Sun. I'm pretty sure it's their first game. I could be wrong. Do not quote me on that. But with that being said, let's dive on into this thing and let's talk about the storyline. Do you want to do this, Tom, or do you want me to do it?
You can start off, man. You go right ahead. I'll take it easy. I'll kind of fill in some gaps in there a little bit,
Yeah, and if you get sick of my voice, just let me know. But don't, because I'll physically cry a lot. So basically the storyline, I just wrote a little blurb about it. In a different world, strange and ever-changing ruins appear. They're full of mazes, items, and enemies. And by those ruins, a village was formed to be the home of both the adventurers and the merchants of that area. And then, so this game takes place 70 years after these ruins were discovered, when the dungeons aren't as profitable as before. And basically, you play the shopkeeper of the Moonlighter It's the oldest shop in town, and your name is Will. You're a shopkeeper by day and an adventurer in the dungeons by night. So that's basically the gist of the storyline. Do you have anything to add, Tom?
Yeah, I'd say like that's basically a really good outline of the story for what we got going so far, you know. Like the reason is the town is kind of like more abandoned now in the future is like a lot of people kept dying in these dungeons, so they started getting more sealed off, especially the harder ones, so nobody could get hurt anymore. Yeah, Will is a young shopkeeper. His parents basically left him that shop and told him to take care of it, in their death and stuff. He does have a really nice friend in there that I could talk about more. He kind of is like a mentor to Will and guides him through the dungeons without even like kind of talking about it. But yeah,
In classic like RPG fashion, it's just an old man.
right? Yeah, exactly. It's
In
an old
classic,
man.
it's the trope. It's the tropiest of tropes, but it gets me every time.
Yeah, I'd say the only other kind of bits of lore you can really get out of this game are like kind of near end game, so I don't want to ruin that for anyone that wants to play it. All I'll say is it does deal with aliens.
Ooh,
Um, but
spooky
right, and the
Illuminati
only
music.
yeah, and the other lore you get is out of Crazy Pete. Like he leaves notes kind of around the dungeons and stuff. You'll stumble upon his rooms from time to time, and
Oh
it'll kind
yeah.
of it'll hint kind of what happens and why the rooms are changing and why everything is set this way. So
Not to get too off track, but I'm sure we'll talk about this more later. That part was awesome. All those parts are awesome. I totally actually forgot about those parts until right now. So thank you for bringing that back up. That gives
of
me
course,
more stuff to talk about later. Um, moving right along, we do have like a certain amount of topics that we have initialized in like kind of a fashion to go through just to keep ourselves on track and to make sure that we try to hit everything that we want to hit. So basically, the storyline is just supposed to be like a brief description of the game to familiarize you guys with it if you've never played it before. The next one that I would like to talk about is the graphics and the art. So with that being said,
graphics and art.
Also, for everyone who does watch us, we are a live podcast. We do broadcast this to Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and soon YouTube under Block Bros Pod. Probably podcast, not pod, Sean. So if you ever want to see the games live, we do actually show videos of the games as we talk about them. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on the screen right now, and we can talk about the graphics. Tom, if you want to start, I'll just throw this up right now while you talk.
you got it. Got it.
Eventually.
Right. Even before Sean pulls this up, I will say I really love the look of this game. Not even is it like, bit-wise, just made out of it's not quite, 16-bit. It's more like 100 something, but it still has that old school look to it, that you're
Exactly.
after, just in
It's
that
got
more modern.
it's got the nostalgia, but it's also really smooth. I think that's the best way I can put it. Like not smooth because it's still pixels, but it's very sleek and very organized, and it's got a very put together look. It doesn't look cheap or bad.
Right, exactly.
like.
Like God. There's that really, fine border between doing like bit art that looks bad, and
Mhm.
looks really good. And I think this game really hits on the head, not only in like the way it makes shadows and shapes, but the colors they pick is really, nice and complimenting, like
Yeah. I'm not super well versed in art, as I'm sure Tom is aware. I have failed more than my fair share of art classes, while Tom, on the other hand, does art for a living. So I'm sure he could talk circles around me about this. But something that I really enjoy about this game is the light. They do the light really well.
right.
Like there's certain points where like what we're looking at right now on screen is light streaming through a window, and it's really hard to hit that well, in my opinion, in a lot of pixel games. And I think they did a really good job with it in this game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that like all the shapes, like even if you notice just subtle things, like the way the room curves at the edges and put stuff on it to give it depth, like that's a really hard and tricky element to pull off, especially with what you're using,
Yeah,
So,
and the attention to detail is there. You can tell that somebody put love into it.
right.
Basically, is what I think we're implying. And then
Yeah.
another thing that I love about the art in this game is that every item that you find in the dungeon, every armor, every weapon, and they all have their own unique, basically, like little images. So they're
Yeah.
not like cookie cutter where it's copied. They're all basically different and unique. And I think that takes a lot of dedication to the craft as well. Like it's not just you just copy paste like with other games. It's very unique, and someone took the time. It was a labor of love, and that's pretty obvious.
Right. And I know we're not showing it now, like this is more the merchant section, but the
Mhm.
dungeons are also really beautiful in this game because each one is very distinct and very different, like right there, like you get like the first kind of ones, that's kind of gray, but then you even open into more forest and desert sections, which is a really cool, like everything has its own unique flavor.
Definitely, and I'm sure we'll talk about the dungeons more later. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about with the art though? Because I was just really impressed at the diversity that they give you throughout the game on how different the art looks compared to a lot of other games I've played.
Yeah, I think so too. Even the way like Will is kind of drawn, you can tell he even has that kind of stockier build. Like he has a very nice character definition. Like a
Yeah,
lot of characters can kind of run together in indie games. So
I feel like I was, and this might be branching into other territory about the game too. That's not just about the art, but I feel like the art did also help with this. I felt very connected to Will as a character, which is like surprising because he doesn't really have like a personality per se, but like just the way he's drawn really makes you feel connected to him. Honestly,
right, yeah, you can feel for what he's going through, even though he literally has no lines in this whole entire like
yeah, I
game.
don't think he talks at all throughout the entire
he,
game.
yeah, he really doesn't. Like God. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, every character in this game though has like their own personality just based on the way they look. Like, everyone from the potion maker to like the blacksmith to your other rival shops, everybody looks really good in this game too.
Yeah, they
So,
all have personality just by drawing alone. Like even if they like we said with Will, even if they don't have any lines or they're just a small character, you can really get their personality just by the way that they're drawn and the attention to detail that's put forth in the art itself. I really enjoy that part.
right. Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
Well, let's move on to the next segment, which is sounds and music. See you there.
Sounds and music.
By the way, if anyone's wondering, I made these transition titles with like the narrator effect. I totally like went on to this website called like fakeyou.com, and it's like the narrator from like the Unsolved Mysteries. They like deep faked his voice to make these. If anyone's wondering, that's what the voice, if the voice sounds familiar, that's what it is.
God.
I was like, man, I got to make some transitions for this thing, and that was my solution.
God damn.
Which I really enjoyed.
Right.
What
Join
are your
us next
thoughts? Oh
week
shit!
when we investigate the murder of an indie developer.
I murdered him. It was me. I did it. I needed the clout for the show. But what do you think about the sounds and the music? You got any real hard takes on this or light takes or what do you think? What are your general thoughts about it?
God, I mean, the music in this game is like top tier music to me, like honestly. Especially like I mean, even before this podcast, I think we were talking about like the town sound, like oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, it's one of the best town sounds I've heard. Like
Agreed. Yeah, it sounds busy. It
yeah,
sounds like
like
mobile. Like there's actual the way that I would describe it personally. Like the whole soundtrack for me, it was very atmospheric. It was very environment based, and I liked that a lot
yeah,
because it makes you feel your surroundings. Because like I mean, realistically, the game isn't. Yeah, we've all played dungeoneering games. We've all played roguelites. We all played dungeon crawlers. All that kind of stuff. It's very basic in its concept, but the actualization of making the sounds atmospheric to put you there in the moment and feel like oh shit, we're like in this creepy place and the sounds are reflecting that is super neat to me. Again, it's just the attention to detail that I don't think a lot of people put towards their games.
right.
So I respect it a lot.
Yeah, which is part of the reason both me and Sean love indie games is because it's not someone who's just trying to crap out a game. It's someone who's putting all their love and attention into every bit of a game that they
Exactly.
can.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot more love. Like you said it perfectly. There's just a lot more love, and you could definitely get that with just the art and the soundtrack of this game. I mean, there's really not much more I could say about it. It's just really atmospheric and fun.
Yeah, like you would definitely be able to study like the town music in this game, but like when you're battling, the battle music feels intense, especially some of the boss music in this. Like it makes you feel nice and frantic, which
Oh yeah.
everybody wants.
Yeah, like when you're running really fast past things and the music is catching up too. Like that's super fun. I really enjoyed the boss music. I totally spaced that as well. So thanks for bringing that up.
Right?
The
Yeah,
boss music is wonderful.
yeah.
Honestly,
And I
it's
will
super
say,
good.
I know we talked about visuals, but the bosses in this, I love how distinctly every single one is different and looks and plays differently than every single one. And they're hard. Like
They're really hard. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not a cakewalk. I mean, the first one's not terrible, but we're getting too deep into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way, it just everything about the art and the sound of this game is immaculate, honestly, and it just looks like somebody took a lot of time and pride in what they were doing to make an overall really well balanced, really beautiful and serene game. Honestly,
Exactly. You know.
awesome. Well, hell yeah. Well, let's move on to the next thing. Give me 1 second. The next thing is going to be just basic features and content. So we're going to cover a lot in that section. This is going to be the meat and potatoes of the podcast. So stick around.
Features and content.
There's a lot to say about this game. There's a lot of aspects in it that I found that a lot of other games don't have. I think the way that Tom got me to play this game, because Tom was the one that suggested it for my stream. He said, have you played a lot of dungeoneering games, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you ever wonder what happens to the items from those games? Like when you pick them up, like what happens to those items? And I was like, I don't know, man. I never really thought about it. He's like, what if you could be a shopkeeper too? And I was like, that's a fucking option.
Right? Exactly.
And I think that's the main draw that I had to this game was the shopkeeping aspect, where you have to actually manage a shop. You have to go into the dungeons, you have to get things out of it, and you have to manage a shop. And with managing the shop, you have to manage customer expectations, the local economy. Like if you go to a dungeon and you get a bunch of one thing and bring it back, the price for that thing will fall. The demand for it will fall. You actually have to manage your economy in this game, which some people might not find fun. And I'm not usually a person that's like really analytical or cares about that kind of stuff. But this game made it fun for me anyways.
Yeah. The system of, like you said, the economy in this game and the trading in this game is honestly top tier. You know, like you said, you can flood the market with something and the value will decrease fucking tenfold, you know? Like,
exactly.
God, yeah, like the shopkeeping is definitely, you know, I'd say it's about like 50-50 for a split in this game, but I'll give it the shopkeeping section is definitely one of the best aspects of this game, you know. Like,
it's a very unique experience because it's almost like it's comparable to like what I would consider like town building in other games, because you not only have to like manage your economy and your inventory, and you have to have inventory, you will make money, and you also have to use that money to pay for other things in the game, like expanding your shop. Like you start out with a very small shop, and you can use the money that you generate from the buying and selling of items to expand your shop or make more money or hire people to help you in the shop. So you can go out dungeoning. It's really interesting. Like I said, I'm not usually like a town builder economy management person. That's not what I would ever consider fun. And I considered this a lot of fun. I had a great time with it.
Right. One of the best, most random aspects they add to this game is you'll just be doing something in like your shop, right? And then someone will try to steal your shit. Like fucking right off the table and walk out the door. Like
that is one of my favorite aspects of that. I was gonna mention that later, but that is one of my favorite aspects of this game because it keeps you on your toes. Because you have to also speaking of just like shopkeeping and that, along with the stealing and that being my favorite aspect, also you have to manage customer wait times. Like if you are off like stopping someone from stealing and somebody's waiting in line, they can just decide they don't want your shit anymore and leave, which is like real world. What the fuck?
Right? Yeah. You have to not only do that, you have to cater to certain customers that come through that door. Some people want weapons, some people want items, you know, like, I mean, they added so much in the shop section than just, hey, someone comes in and wants to buy this, which they could have gotten away with, you know, but they decided just to bring it all the way to that level that's just completely top tier.
Real. It feels like not real, as real as you can get in a game.
Yeah.
An indie game. But on a side note, I play video games to escape capitalism. What the fuck?
Right?
I'm kidding, but like that's how it feels. Is that you literally are running the shop. It is your shop, and you can run it however you want. And like I said, probably 100 times, and I'll keep saying throughout this podcast, I didn't expect to like that aspect of the game, and I loved it. I absolutely adored that aspect. Do you have
Yeah.
anything else to say about the shopkeeping aspect, Tom?
Oh man, like yeah. I mean, the shopkeeping aspect that even runs more like what we'll cover in a bit into like the town aspect because you can
Yeah.
grow that. Yeah.
That's where
So
I was. That's a great transition because that's exactly where I was about to go. Um,
perfect. Take it away then.
so with the shopkeeping aspect and the money that you make there, like we mentioned with the storyline is that the town is dying. There's no one left to go to these ruins. There's no adventurers that want to do it. There's no merchants that want to help out the town. And you can take all the money that you're making from your shop and your adventuring and use it to rebuild the town, which is another total aspect that I did not think I'd enjoy, but I did a lot. It was really satisfying to go into a dungeon, make a bunch of money, come back out, and hire a blacksmith. Like I was like, now I can use that blacksmith. Like I did that. That's cool.
Right? Yeah, and you use like the items that you got in the dungeon to even upgrade your stuff to like the next level.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Crafting
so.
was another thing I wanted to cover definitely.
God.
I mean that goes along with the town building for sure. Is the crafting system is arguably pretty good. Like again, not my forte. I don't really care for crafting almost in any game I play. Like when I played Skyrim, for instance, I never sat around and learned how to craft things. I was out fighting dragons.
Yeah.
But in this game, the way that they have you upgrade your items, I think is relatively simple. They basically give you the recipe, and it says here's what you need to get, and you can pin the recipe, and it shows what you need to get at all times in the corner of your screen. Super easy, super handy. You're like, and it lets you know what you want to sell, what you don't want to sell, because maybe you're trying to build towards a new sword. Well, then, do I want to sell this item if it's going to go towards a new sword? Let me check the recipe that's in the corner of my screen. No, okay, cool. I don't have to sell it. Like it's so much more simpler. So much more simpler. That's not a fucking sentence, Sean. So much simpler than a lot of other crafting that I've run into in a lot of other games where it's like so what's the word I'm looking for? You got to go like super hard into it to figure it out. This one was way easier, which as a dumb person I appreciate.
Right? Yeah, like it's just really cool just to build everything in this game is pretty much what we're getting down to. Because yeah, like between your own shop, the crafting, building the town that used to be nothing, like it's just really cool to see all that build. And it's like, in other games like this, that is any kind of dungeon crawler, you never really get to see like the benefits of your work. You're just trying to meet that end goal, you know?
That's
So
where that the rogue, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's roguelike or roguelite. There's certain factors that weigh into that, but that's where that aspect comes in because if you have progress, it makes it a roguelite or a roguelite. I'm not sure which one again. Sorry, I'm not an expert. I'm just a pretty boy.
I think it falls under light category, if I'm correct. I feel like I'm gonna piss a lot of people off just by saying that, but I feel like it's a roguelite. So
please don't dislike the podcast. This is my only source of income.
God damn.
But yeah, 100%. That seeing your progress was a huge aspect about this game that was really cool to see. Like I enjoyed building a town, and I'm gonna keep saying it. I don't enjoy town building games or Sims or anything like that, and I really enjoyed it here, which was surprising.
Yeah, exactly. To me, like it's so fun just to build everything in this game, like and meeting people in this game and seeing their progress in the world too. Like everything in this game builds with you. Like I mean that's the cool part. Like you get to meet new people, and every step of your journey you get to meet even more people. I know that sounds really basic and stupid, but in indie games, in rogue kind of games, that's a very often missed element, I feel.
Yeah, the story building is important, and it really shows through that they had a design that they were going for, that there was a world they were building towards, and you actually get to play it out, which is cool in its own way.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah. Well, moving on from there. Earlier you mentioned dungeons, Tom. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, we've just been talking about the town and shop building, but
building and crafting and shit. But bunch of nerds out here talking about the economy and shit.
Right? God, I will say, like, this isn't the most difficult dungeon crawler you're gonna play. There are some ones like, hardcore, like Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac,
Would you
anything
go?
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, anything like that, But this one, like, it will start off hard, but like I said, the more you upgrade, the more you kind of build your town and stuff, the dungeons are going to get easier for you, which feels really great, honestly,
Yeah,
like,
because it's like when you succeed, the game rewards you by basically being like, hey, you built up your town, now you can progress to a harder dungeon. And if you fail, then that failure is on you because you didn't build up your town, you didn't craft a better item. It is fully on you. And when you lose in this game, you lose pretty hard. You lose everything that you came in with.
yep.
And I don't know if you lose everything you come in with. I think you lose
Just
your
not
armor.
weapons and armor. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Everything in your satchel, though, that's gone. Like,
Yeah, which it also brings a whole new aspect to dungeoneering where they have like a portal. There's like a mirror thing, right? It's a mirror that
yeah,
you can
yep,
send things back to town in, but only a certain amount of things, and it requires you to use a resource to do it. And so therefore you got to pick and choose. Like if you come across something really awesome, and you're like, oh, I can't die and lose this. You can use your resource to send that item back for your shop, or for, say, I'm trying to build a specific weapon and I find the amount of stuff that I need to make that weapon. You can send that all back to town and not have to worry about dying. But like I said, with that comes the price of using up that resource that you only get a certain amount of. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's escaping me right
yeah,
now.
yeah. It's
I think it's
either
just
that
mana.
or yeah. I think it's the amount of that, or you can travel. Say like you're done in the dungeon and you don't want to lose anything you have. You can travel back to town, but one, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
like
yeah.
a
Money is a huge resource in this game.
yeah, like money. Yeah, this. I'm not saying it's definitely capitalism. The game, it's more like small mop and pop operation. The game, but it's just like with everything in that risk reward kind of situation. Do you want to call it quits, or do you want to go deeper in that dungeon, trying to explore more and get more bang for your buck?
Yeah.
Like I
That's
said.
exactly. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. I was just gonna say, like I said, it's not the hardest dungeon crawler game you're ever gonna play, but it feels rewarding and fun to play.
Exactly, and along the same lines, what I said, with what you just said, really makes what I said true. Like when you succeed, and it feels amazing. And when you fail, it's on you. Like you failed, so you have to lose everything and start again.
Yep.
So the lows in this game are really low, but the highs are really high as well. So if that's kind of your thing, then check this game out for sure. Another thing I wanted to hit on, I mean, let's just briefly describe the dungeons because I feel like it's important that if you want to play this game, you get the general aspect.
hmm
I think there's 5 dungeons total,
Yeah,
correct?
there's 5 different like settings, but they're procedurally generated, so every single time you play it, it's gonna be different.
Exactly, and basically you start with one dungeon, you have to clear it before you can move on to the next dungeon.
Yep.
Um, and each dungeon has a different overarching theme, and some materials or items are only available in certain dungeons. So, like, say I need to create a new sword or a new bow or a new spear, I have to go to a specific dungeon to get those parts to complete that item, which is also a cool way to like learn the dungeons and figure out how their mechanics work as well.
Right. And hitting just randomly on that topic about going back and finding specific things is, even in shop building, people will request certain things that they want, and you'll
Yeah.
have to go into dungeons and get it. And you'll get a massive payout for doing that, actually. So that's like
That was
another cool. God.
that was on my list. Yeah, that was on my list as well. I think that
So,
those are like that's the version of questing in this game is
yeah.
basically people come into your shop and they say, "Hey, I would like this item by this day," and there's like a date, and you have a certain amount of time to get them that item. And if you fail, you get nothing. But if you succeed, like Tom said, you get a massive payout. So
Yeah.
it's again high risk reward. But then it's also like you can decline quests and you can decide not to do them because maybe your time would be better spent trying to get a new sword than trying to get this dude 17 onions or some shit, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to ever waste your nights.
Yeah, because I think time management is a huge part of this game because you spend half your day in the shop selling stuff. And then you have to spend your nights in the dungeon, but you only get an allotted amount of time for each. So it really
When
makes you balance that.
When my man sleeps, nobody really knows though. Like
Yeah,
fucking
straight up. I don't know when I'm kind of living that life right now too, but
yeah, dude, straight up 21 hours a day working retail and then going fucking dungeon fighting like shit.
Reallifesimulator.com. Another thing I wanted to hit on was movements and control. That's its own section, so let's
Movement and controls.
I think what I'm going to say is going to be not charitable for movement and controls. I'm going to be honest. I didn't love the controls. I didn't love the way that it felt to run around in this game. I didn't love a lot of the weapons. I think I got into like one weapon and then just disregarded every other weapon, which I don't think that's how you're supposed to play it. But that's what I did personally.
Right. I will say like you said, the one weird thing about the movement is you can move in like all 8 directions, right? You know, you can go forward, verticals, you can go horizontal, and then you can hit that x-axis plane, you know, to go sideways. But your weapon can only hit 4 freaking directions.
Yeah.
So that will drive anyone kind of like crazy just trying to aim in this game, you know, like
exactly. And
God, just
yes, I just saw that too. Yeah. For reference, we're watching a video of it while we're talking about it, and he just rolled straight into a hole. Which is another thing I was going to talk about in this game is there's holes in the floor in the dungeon a lot of the time, everywhere. And if you're not careful and you dodge roll, you will roll right into the hole and take damage. And sometimes though, you can fall into the hole and there's another level below it with items. It's really weird. It's a really weird concept. I'm still not fully sure about it.
Yeah, that is that gets more into a little bit higher level stuff. So there's one room in each floor that's an additional room under it. What you're looking for is like a flash of light kind of in the corner, you know, somewhere, and it'll tell you there's a room below it with like extra stuff in it. Most of the time it's fucking instant death just to even try to go down there, but you know, huge risk reward payout like we always say in this.
But that's my main caveat about why I'm not sure if I like the controls. It didn't feel as fluid as I wanted it to be. Overall, it's still a very fun like feeling to play the game. But it felt hard to move. Like when you start going diagonal by accident when you mean to go left, like that bothered me a lot. Or like when I wanted to use my weapon to hit diagonally because I'm going diagonally and you can only hit upwards or sideways. It was some of the enemies were really hard to hit. There's certain situations where they're in like a corner and you're like, I don't know how to get to them without like going all the way around and figuring it out. And that bothered me a little bit, but that's really my only complaint about the movement.
Yeah, I will say, like, you know, movement control wise, what I do like about like controls, and if you account it to weapons too, is each weapon feels distinct in this game for control wise. You know, like the sword, you get a sword, you have a great sword, a spear, and fist for like your single handed one, and each one is vastly a different weapon, like range wise, attack speed wise, how they move wise, power attack wise. That's a really cool kind of aspect, I thought, for controls, you know.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't expect it to be so vastly different because you can carry in 2 different weapons is how it works. So you get to choose what you want to carry in. And I think I got really into like the spear. The spear was my go-to.
Yeah, it's a great weapon. Yeah, the spear in this game gives you nice long reach. It's straight ahead. You can poke enemies through walls and shit. It's wonderful.
You can run, and that has a button. If you hold down one of the buttons, you can like run and spear people. Super fun. Such a enthralling little thing you can do there.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you that every weapon and every part of it feels distinctly different, and it's not one of those games where you have to play a specific way. I didn't feel like I was being boxed in at any point to have to play with the bow or to have to play with the greatsword. Like I could play anything the way I wanted to. Would it be more difficult? Sure, probably, but I could do it.
Right? Like, yeah, I mean, God, it's just great just to be able to switch it up, you know, and do whatever. And like you can even get great swords that don't just deal damage or regular damage, but you also get ones that like can give effects, you know. There's different effects for different weapons and stuff, like, which is a whole nother thing. But you know, the more you play it, the more you'll see all the effects that dungeons have, and then your weapons can do the same thing, which is really cool and control wise.
Another thing that I think I forgot to add in the content section was I don't know what were they like companions, like the little things you can get that follow you around.
Yeah.
What were those? Are they companions? Are they, I don't know, pets? Something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, you can get pets in this game essentially, and they'll that was more add in the DLC actually, I think. So that's something that newly came out. I replayed it recently, and that had that in there. So I thought that was a really cool aspect. But you have these little pets that can follow you around, and they'll do specific kinds of damage, like based on where they're from and how they are. But they're I don't know. They're really cool just to have, I guess. Like that's
Yeah, I feel
another
like it added a little bit of like just extra to the game that they didn't have before the DLC, like you were saying. Like it added like I would have one that followed me around and picked up items that I dropped or that got dropped for me, so I didn't have to like go around and grab the items if they were in a dangerous place, or if like one fell off the edge, it would grab it for me before it fell into the abyss, and I didn't have to go chasing after it and risk my life.
basically having a Roomba with you, but
Yeah,
it's
it was nice. It was nice. I liked my Roomba. Okay, Tom, it was a good Roomba. Little googly eyes on it.
right. Oh my god.
But yeah, I totally forgot to mention that. And bear with us, everybody. It's our first time ever doing this, so clearly we're gonna miss some things and have to backtrack every now and then.
Right.
But I think we're reaching the last couple topics. I think, unless there's anything else you want to throw in here.
I mean, control wise, yeah, I'd say it's a little bit less than your typical kind of dungeon controls you're used to, but they're fine, they're doable. There's just a few gripes I have. Like 8 directional kind of attack wise would have been nice in this game. That would have been a nice little addition. I don't think I would have had as many gripes. Or the amount of times like you perfectly will roll right into a
Oh
perfectly
yeah,
placed hole. Like
every
fucking
time.
every
It's
time.
like it was fated. Honestly, every single time you roll into those holes, it feels personal.
You'll be like freaking what seems like 6 squares away from that hole, and then you go to roll and you land right in it. And you
Somebody
don't
moved that
know
hole.
how.
Somebody moved it. They moved it into my path. It was their fault. But definitely, I think I that's my main gripe as well. Is that it just it wasn't as fluid as I wanted it to be for a
Yeah.
dungeon game. Other than that, I really loved every other aspect. I loved the combat. I loved most of the movement. Other than it just didn't feel fluid because of the directional challenges that you face with this game.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Cool.
pretty much how I feel with that too.
The next category is called closing thoughts, and it's a whole schmegma of things. We'll just you'll see.
Closing thoughts.
I don't think I meant to say schmegma, but I'm going with it. That's canon now. It's schmegma.
It goes to say smorgasbord, it says smegma.
Well,
Whatever.
What's the difference? You know what I'm trying to say? So I just kind of threw together. Basically, I made a rough outline of things I wanted to cover, and in closing thoughts, I just put everything that didn't match up, and I think that's what I'm going to keep doing it for every game that we talk about. So one of the things that I want to talk about with this game is the replayability. Replayability. If there is a replayability factor to this, if you personally have replayed it, Tom, would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I have played and beaten I've beaten the DLC once now, and I've replayed this game 3 times. It's honestly one of those great games because you can pick it up and you can put it down. There's no stress. You can get through say you just want to spend 20 minutes gaming. Like I own a Switch. That's what I play a lot of indie games on because it's just a great indie kind of device. But you
Netflix
want to
sponsor us. Netflix sponsor us. Thank you.
yes, please, Netflix. But you could just spend 20 minutes quick. You could either run a dungeon or you could do a day just selling stuff. You can just pick up, put this game down. It's a really nice, easy game to play that it's something you just once you get done and you finish it, it makes you want to start over from the beginning just to get that feeling, again, of building like a town, like we were saying, and going through those dungeons again. And, sometimes it'd be like, oh, I didn't get a chance to use that weapon. Maybe I'll try that this time,
Exactly, and that's the main thing that I think I'll hit on as well is I think what really sold me that this was a game that I wanted to talk about. Firstly, is because not a lot of people know about it, and secondly was the replayability factor. It was I don't often play a game on PC and then be like I'm gonna buy that on my Switch. Like I don't do that because I own a PC and I don't use my Switch almost ever. But I bought this game on PC and then I bought it on Switch. Like I did both because it's so good and so like Tom said easy to pick up and put down and go back to and play when you're taking a shit or play when you're on a plane. Like you don't have to think about playing this game. You can just enjoy it. It's very in the moment. It's very nuanced. So I
Right?
like that a lot about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's very. I think it's very high replayable. Like I said, some games, you spend so long on there, you never want to freaking play it again. But this isn't one of those.
what,
Like,
what game is one of those, Tom?
oh man, I mean, anything I think that can take over 110 hours to beat fully, like you just never want to play again. But like something you can beat relatively in 10, 15 hours, it makes you just kind of want to replay it.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that fully. Um, so yeah, I think that it has a high replayability factor for sure. As someone that's bought it multiple times, bought it. I don't think bought it is a. It's fine. I'm a professional podcaster. it's in all, it's in all my
Bought.
bios, bro. I'm a professional podcaster now. As of today. The other thing I had written down was talking about its fun factor. Like, where would you rate it on just like how fun between like two games? Where would you put it between two games? Like a really fun game and a really not fun game. Like where would you put it between those two?
I mean, I put it on the category of like kind of like. I mean, it's pretty fun to play. Like I put it at like an 8 out of 10. Like just really like one of those fun games. Like I said, it's fun, it's easy yet hard, it's addictive, like it's it's fun. Solid.
Exactly. I can't tell you how many nights I was in my bed on my Switch playing this game and like the sun was peeking through the window and I was like, oh shit, I gotta be at work in 2 hours. I could probably run another dungeon. This game ruined my life. Please help me. No, it was worth it, honestly. The fun factor for me was probably around a 7 or 8 as well out of 10. It was just a lot of fun, and like we said a million times, you can pick it up, put it back down, and just enjoy it. And it's different, and with the procedurally generated dungeons and having different, like we said, a distinctly different weapons and armor and other things. It's
Yeah.
always different every time you play it.
Like tackling a dude who is trying to steal shit from your shop will never get old. I promise you that aspect will never get old. Every time you see a little dust cloud form when you fucking tackle that bitch.
Dude, I was you stole my next topic, which was what was your favorite thing about the game
Oh
and your
no.
not favorite thing about the game. Obviously my favorite thing about the game was tackling people. It really was. Like anytime someone tries to steal, you just get to tackle them and ruin their day. And it's so funny because like they come in and they try to be like sneaky and it's very cartoony and it's so much fun to like just like Tom said, it just doesn't get old. Just tackling someone trying to steal from you it's addictive. What was your favorite part of the game, Tom?
God. Honestly, like what I really like to do is just like try to like gather as much shit as I can at high value, right? And like sell it all in one day and then wreck the economy, but I made like $1 million. Like it just like
I fucked myself, but it was cool.
yeah, it is really cool when you get those higher level things that are worth like 3 grand and then you're just basically like the king. Like
Oh, another cool part about this game is again, sorry, we're gonna backtrack. We're new to
yeah,
this.
right.
Is like when you go to sell things, if you've never sold it before, it doesn't tell you a price that you
Oh,
sell it at. So you can list it wherever you think that it's going to sell at. Like it has like a little marker that says like, oh, it's exciting or it's not exciting. And people come in and they look at it and then you can tell by their reaction if it's too high or too low and you can adjust the price accordingly. But like sometimes you can like scam people into buying things
yeah.
by having perceived wealth. Like they'll come in and be like, oh, this is worth a lot of money. And they'll buy it for like 3,000, even if it's only worth like 200. for the first couple times. It's really interesting, actually, because it perceived wealth. I never thought I'd talk about perceived wealth in an indie game.
Right? God. Every time though, that you get like a new item and you're trying to figure out the price and you set out like way too low, and then they just like they get that gold bling
Yeah.
yeah. You get like a gold bling on your eyes, you're like shit.
Yeah. or the exact opposite of that, when they look at it and it makes that wow wow noise because they're mad about how much it costs. But another favorite thing is when they're mad about how much it costs, but they still buy it.
Right? Oh man, yeah. Like they grumbly go to the counter. Oh man, and people will get so pissed sometimes at your prices. They will leave your store. Like straight up, they're just like, "I'm out of here.
It's very real.
I'm never shopping here again."
It's the only shop in town. I'm never shopping here again. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Along the same lines, what was your least favorite thing about this game?
God.
And you can't say nothing because that's
right?
a cop out.
I'd say I'd wish there was a little bit more. I mean, there's a good amount of enemy variation. I just wish it was a little bit more varied. In some dungeon crawlers, you get a massive array of different enemies that you have to learn against. This one, it feels like it's a little bit easy to kind of learn everybody,
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, I just wish there was more enemy types that you had to like learn a pattern of,
Yeah. So it's just more diverse and fun. I get that.
Yeah, I'd say that's that's probably like my least favorite is like just enemy types in general. Could have been a bit more varied,
100%. And we're not saying they're not going to like DLC more enemies and later. Like we're not the developer. We don't know, but
even with the DLC, they did add more, enemies like people wanted. So like they went back into that, like you just said. But like some like. I mean, think like, not that we've covered it, but like Enter the Gungeon has so freaking many enemy types that you'll never know what's going to come.
Yeah.
And in this one, it just felt so much more tame,
Exactly. Yeah. It definitely felt like a first attempt at enemy creation, which is totally fine. Like you got to start somewhere, and I'd love to see them add on as well, like you're saying. I think my least favorite thing, I gotta think for a sec. I had one, but it doesn't sound super least. I liked a lot of this game. It was a lot of fun for me, but I think
it's hard to pick on,
It is, but you got to do. I feel like you got to do it though.
Yeah.
My least favorite part of this game is probably the quest system. I'm not a big fan of the way that I like the idea of customers coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I need this." But the fact that they need it by a specific date and it's always just the stupidest shit. It feels very fetch questy, like from like RPGs where you're like, I need, and they roll a dice, 36, and they roll another dice, onions and they roll a dice, Grandpa's Village. Like it just feels very not in depth, and it feels like you have to go in and just do it because they're asking you to. And yeah, you get more money, blah blah, but I feel like there should be a storyline about it. I feel like they could have done more with it, where they're like, hey, I really need this so I can build the well across the street, and then you give it to them and you come back and there's a well. That's all I would need.
That would be definitely a lot cooler, because they just need it for whatever, like you said. It's very fetch questy kind of with the quests,
and that might just be a personal, like, I just don't like fetch quest bullshit, but it's very it takes you out of what I perceive to be a really fun and unique game. By making you do some bullshit, but like you got to put some bullshit in somewhere, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where they went. I mean, just like talking like quest and lore wise, there's not a lot in this game. Like I know we covered story, but there's really not a lot, like.
Well, I don't know. Go ahead and talk about that, man.
Like, I mean, like I said, it gets more toward the end that involves aliens and stuff, but I really don't want to ruin that for anybody, because literally 90% of the story comes at the last 5% of this game. I don't know why.
They were like, you know what? You did all the dungeon crawling. Here's some fucking lore. You earned it, champ.
Seriously.
Back.
They literally shoved it in very last second. They're like, okay, aliens, and you're like, wait, what?
you ever seen like The Knowing with Nicolas Cage? And I'm gonna real story. I know this is a video game podcast, but I gotta tell the story.
You
So
go
I was a younger kid. I was like fucking like 11 years old. And I was watching The Knowing with Nicolas Cage, and I have not watched it since. So I don't know if it holds up or if it's good or bad. But I was watching it, and it was like a whole long ass movie, and I was like, damn, this is a really good movie. Holy shit. And about halfway through, I turned to the person I was watching it with, and I said, I'm gonna be really pissed if this involves aliens. And then at the end, it's just aliens. That's it. That's a spoil The Knowing, but it's been 12 years. Watch the fucking movie, but it's just aliens.
Oh
and
my God.
and I feel like that's kind of what this game did. It's like, yeah, it's like a pretty good game, and it's a build up, motherfucking aliens.
Basically, like, yeah. You have no idea what the hell is going on the entire time. Like, dungeons are building out of nowhere, and that's like, hey, aliens fucking did that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's just aliens. Fuck you. We don't have to
Basically,
explain anything.
yeah, it's like how they do the pyramids. Fuck it, aliens, dude.
It sounds kind of like a cop out. It really does. But I don't know. We're not the developers. We'd love to talk to the developers. You should hit us up. Hi, Digital Sun. But I think the last thing I wanted to talk about is there any games that this game reminds you of? I have one. If you don't have one, that's totally fine. I thought about this for a while, so.
I mean, for the love of God, I feel like we're gonna mention like the same game here. So why don't you go first? Because I am anxious to see which one you mention.
I think it reminds me of Stardew Valley.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. The only difference is I didn't like Stardew Valley at all.
Yeah, Stardew has a lot going on, and it expects you to know a lot right away.
Yeah, I think we're gonna cover Stardew later. I assume we're gonna cover
Yeah.
Stardew later. It'd be impossible not to, honestly,
Right.
at this point. It's too big to not cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like with the town building system, and just like with the shop building is similar to the crops, and there's a lot of 1-to-1, like the mines and the ruins are very similar. It's
Right.
1-to-1 on a lot of things,
Yeah.
except Stardew, like you said, has way too much going on and it sucks.
Yeah.
There's a little sneak peek for the Stardew episode on John's perspective.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, Stardew, don't get me wrong, it's great, and it did a lot of great things, but in a sense, Stardew is almost too much, like,
I feel like there's a certain fan base that it attracts because it is too much. It's like the same people that play Animal Crossing. Not that I'm shitting on anyone. Everyone has different tastes.
Yeah.
There's certain parts of Stardew that I loved, and when we do the Stardew episode, I'll talk about it.
Right.
There's certain parts that I didn't love, but it's my show, and I'll talk about it if I fucking want. I'm kidding. But really, that's pretty much all I had to cover here. Do you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, yeah, it doesn't really remind me of, I mean, it can remind me of so many dungeon crawlers, but the shop kind of perspective on this game is what really sells this, I mean, if it didn't have that, it would just be your basic run-of-the-mill dungeon crawler game, but that's what really sets it aside from any other one I've ever played,
Exactly,
so.
and that's what got me into it, was you literally just being like, you want to like sell all the items you get, and I was like, yeah, I kind of do. Like, that's a good idea. And then this game exists, so for sure, like, that's if you want to play a game where you get to go in a dungeon and then sell all the items you get and then have actual progress from it, this is the game for you. It's called Moonlighter, and it's made by Digital Sun, and it's a lot of fun. You should give it a chance. I think it's available on pretty much every platform. I've switched.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
Xbox,
yeah,
probably
all
PS5. I don't know.
Right. Anything you can imagine, dude. It's a mobile game, actually. You can.
Oh
get
my God,
this
is
on
it?
you can get this on the Google App Store right now. So
I had no idea. I
yeah.
did not do my research, clearly.
I know.
to know
like,
that
they really made it available to play this on literally anything. Like, it could be available on toaster.
It's available on my Samsung fridge.
It could be. You never know.
That's the future that I'm trying to live in, dude. Well, hell yeah. So that's pretty much, I think, the first episode. I think this is a good place to start wrapping things up. Tom, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think I've covered basically almost all I want to cover with this game. Like,
You're like,
we've
stop fucking talking to me.
right? No, like we've really kind of hit like most things on this game. There's a few details we could have gotten into more, but I think we've covered like a really nice
Can't be
kind
too
of
hard on
base.
ourselves. It's our first time.
Yeah, gives
Be
everyone
gentle.
an yeah.
Next week on Tuesday, we're probably going to be doing this again. If you do want to watch live, like I said, we are available on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and soon probably YouTube as well. All of it is the same. It's Block Bros Podcast. It's Block Bros Podcast, all one word. And next week we'll be talking about one of my favorite games, and I think probably one of Tom's favorite games, Dead Cells.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good one.
That might be a longer episode.
Mhm.
I fucking
That's a
love Dead Cells.
fun game right there.
So, with that being said, I'm Sean. You can find me on Twitch. It's Sean is a ginger, all one word. SEAN is a ginger. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, starting between 8 and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tom, if you want to plug where they can find you, if you want to be found, you don't have to be.
Right? I'm Tom, also known as Ticking Time Tom. Don't find me on Twitch because I'm not on there. But
He's
look
on
at
my
my
Twitch.
But if you want, you can actually. I'll just just find Anchor 13 Tattoo on my Facebook page. If you ever are interested in any kind of tattoo artwork related stuff, I post a lot on there. Feel free to hit me up with any messages on indie games too, because I'm always interested to hear your thoughts. So
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, if you're a developer and you want to be on this show to talk about your game with us and we can just like talk about it and shoot the shit, shoot us an email. The email is blockbrospod@gmail.com. Again, that's blockbrospod@gmail.com, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. But with that, I'm Sean.
I'm Tom.
And we're the Block
We're
Bros.
the Block Bros.
We're so good at that. Holy fuck.
Every time. Let's get it worse every time.
Every time. It's going to be like, you're going to say it, and then like 5 minutes later, we're going to be like in the episode, I'll be like, and we're the Block Bros.
Yeah. Let's just see how long we can really get that going on being off key,
man. Hell yeah, man. All right. Well, we will catch you guys later.
Bye.
By the way, the opening song is called 8-Bit Fun. It's by a band. I have to give them credit because I use their music. Hold on. Shit, that's loud. It's loading. Hold on. By Heatley Bros, 8-Bit Fun, and also this has been a Lost Cause of Media production. So I'm gonna play that, and that's gonna be it. Okay. Bye.
Lost Cause Media.